Or good morning, everyone. This is again Huskars at your service for a better future or a research for a better future. This Huskars Laboratory shares research based knowledge from the heart that empower human mental capacities and uplift the spirits. So, for today's video, I'll be presenting with you the research onion. So for the learning outcomes, we have the defined ontology, epistemology, and axiology, and we will explain their relevance to business research or any type of research. And we will also reflect on the epistemological, ontological, and axiological research stance. And then we will also understand the main research paradigms, explain the relevance of philosophical positions such as positivism, critical realism, interpretivism, postmodernism, and pragmatism, and of course reflect our own philosophical position in relation to our researches. And we will distinguish between deductive, inductive, abductive, and reproductive approaches to theory development. Here I am showing with you a research of Mark N. K. Saunders entitled Research Methods for Business Students. In Chapter 4, it is stipulated that the understanding research philosophy and approaches to theory development is very essential for research uses. So here we do have ontology. Ontology is a type of a research assumption that would ask the following questions. What is the nature of reality? What is the world like? For example, what the organizations like? What is it like being in an organization? What is it like being a manager of or being managed? So for ontology, the research are concerns with assumptions about the nature of the world, ontological assumptions that makes determine what research objects and phenomena could be focused on and how do we see and approach those research objectives. Perhaps we can research on a leadership styles. What could be the organization like if it's led by a patriarchal leader, or what could be the organization look like if it could be have been led by a low power distance leader? What could happen to the business? How do we adapt, or what could be the organization look like if we will be adopt the stakeholders theory? Another assumption type is the epistemology. This concerns about knowledge. Questions such as how can we know what we know? What is considered acceptable knowledge? What constitutes good quality data? What kinds of contribution to knowledge can be made? So epistemology concerns assumptions about knowledge on how we know, what we say we know, what constitutes acceptable, valid, and legitimate knowledge, and how we can communicate knowledge to fellow human beings. Like epistemological assumptions, like you can make determine what sort of contribution to knowledge you can make as a result of your research. Is this an acceptable result in the academia? Are these results backed up by ample scientific literatures? Or is my research a part of the original environment? And we also have the axiology. Axiology concerns on the assumptions of value and worth. Questions like what is the role of values in research? Should we try to be morally neutral when we do research, or should we let our values shape research? How should we deal with values of research participants? So the axiology refers to the role of values and ethics within the research process, which incorporates questions about how we or as the researchers deal with our own values and also with those of research participants. Like what is the value of our research? What is the worth of our research? Could it really help the organization? In what sense? I think something is better than uh, this particular activity. So research philosophies can be differentiated in terms of where their assumptions fall on the objectivism or subjectivism continuum. The question is there a best philosophy for business and management research? Well, we have already created, or we have already mentioned or presented the research assumptions. Now we do have here five philosophies. First is positivism. Like positivism relates to the philosophical stance of the natural scientist. As a positivist, you have as a positive researcher, you might use existing theory to develop hypotheses. As a positivist, you would try to remain neutral and detached from your research and data in order to avoid influencing your findings. In the critical realism, focuses on explaining what we see and what we experience in terms of the underlying structure of reality that shape the observable events. This is a theory driven philosophy. And then we also have interpretivism. Interpretivism, like critical realism, developed as a critique of positivism but from a subjective perspective. Example, the result of the study is based from the experiences of the participants. And we also have postmodernism. Postmodernism seeks to ask, no, or seeks to question the accepted ways of thinking and give choice to alternative worldviews that have been marginalized and silenced by dominant perspectives. And we also have pragmatism, asserts that concepts are only relevant where they support action. It does this by considering theories, concepts, ideas, hypotheses, and research findings, not in an abstract form, but in terms of the rules they play as instruments of thought and action, and in terms of their practical consequences in specific context. Now, another layer of the onion is what we call the approach to theory development. Is it deduction, abduction, or induction? So we have here the deductive versus inductive. So for deductive, you will be starting to collect information, pieces of information from reputable resources. Reputable, I'm talking about scientific literature, published literature. And then you create pattern or do pattern matching. And then after that, after pattern matching, if there are commonalities, then you could build or you could develop hypothesis. And right after developing hypothesis, you may test it using a inferential statistics. Okay, and then if there is a significant relationship among the independent variables to the dependent variable, then you can create your theory. For the inductive is different. You start with a ready-made theory, and then you hypothesize the ready-made theory based on your own conditions, based on your research locale, and then you do observations, and then confirmation if that theory is indeed, if your result supports that particular theory. And then in abduction, you are actually collecting data to explore a phenomenon, identify themes, and explain patterns. You can generate a new or modify an existing theory, which you can subsequently test through additional data collection. Then you are using the abduction approach. This is actually a theoretical development in building theoretical or hypothesis. Um, you need to have at least five literature that supports the link between your independent to your dependent variable. And then we also have um, the, the strategies, yeah, or the methodological choice. Are you going to do mono method quantitative, mono method qualitative, multi method quantitative, mixed method simple, and mixed method complex? So in mono method qualitative, that is actually pure text, and you cannot see any numbers, such as archival research. And in mono method qualitative, um, this is for mono method quantitative, it's pure numbers, and then for mono method qualitative, it's pure text. And in multi method quantitative, that is actually a usage of statistical treatment. However, you need to back up your statistical treatment with uh, ample literature or some qualitative results. And the same with multi method qualitative, and then we have mixed method simple, wherein the usage of quantitative and qualitative, such as descriptive statistics, and also usage of low-level qualitative analysis. And then we also have mixed method complex. Mixed method complex is using a multivariate statistics and the result in a longitudinal manner, if the result could be considered as a theory or backed up with statistics and empirical results. And then after that, we do have the strategies. You can do experiment, which is manipulating one variable to determine if there are changes in the other variable. And then we also have survey. This is a quantitative method to collect information from a pool of respondents by asking multiple survey questions. We also have archival. We also have archival research, and we have case study. This is an approach that is used to generate an in-depth multifaceted in understanding of a complex issue in its real life settings. And then we also have ethnography, and then we also have action research, grounded theory, and narrative inquiry. And lastly, we do have um, time horizon. Is it cross-sectional or longitudinal? Cross-sectional meaning you could have the immediate result, not more than 1 year. And you have the longitudinal meaning you could get the result over 1 year. And then you will treat your data using either a quantitative or a qualitative analysis. In order for you to determine what philosophy would be best for you, then you need to undergo responding a HARP research instrument. So please take note that number 3 is strongly agree to negative 3, which is strongly disagree. So here are the questions. You just need to tick some of the questions and empty boxes, or in order for you to determine your research philosophy. Then you can do a screenshot and then try to answer using your notebook. So these are the questions from 1 to 20, and then 21 to 30. So here, um, give yourself the points as indicated below for each answers within each philosophical tradition. The different philosophies are represented by specific questions in the heart as indicated below. Fill each philosophy table with your answer scores, then total up the numbers for each philosophy. Now, the highest score, for example, if your postmodernism is the highest score among the 5 philosophies, then that means that you are a postmodernist researcher. Okay? And there's also 4 questions that you need to reflect after this video. Do you have an outright philosophical winner, or do you have a close contention between 2 or more philosophies? Why do you think this is? Which philosophy do you disagree with the most? Or why do you think this is? Okay, so I think that's it. And if you like this video, kindly share it, and please click the thumbs up button and subscribe button. Thank you very much for watching, and see you for another research intensive discussion. Thank you very much, and have a blessed day to all of you. See you guys.